Hello, everyone. So we have Mars in Gemini that stationed direct last week. We have Mercury in Capricorn that also just stationed direct. They're both in conjunct, 150 degrees from one another, and they're sharing in rulership. Mercury rules Mars in Gemini. This in conjunct is also tightening as Mercury is now picking up speed and will exact that in conjunct. There's also a yod being formed with Mars at the apex. A yod is when a single point shares an inconjunct to two other points on both sides, 150 degrees from 2 points. So I'm going to share my screen and show this to you. The South Node in Scorpio, along with Mercury in Capricorn, they are both forming a yod, two inconjuncts to Mars in Gemini. And they're all just kind of tightening. What's interesting about it, we have two stationing planets. We have the South Node moving backwards. They're all just sort of meeting at that 8-9 degree point within the next several days. Worth tuning into and connecting with the teachings and opportunities within that. Before I do that, reminder that we have about 1 month until, actually 1 month exactly, until the Heart and Soul Centered Astrology training program begins. Part 1, the Essentials course begins. This is great for anyone who wants to study astrology, go deeper in it, whether you're a practicing astrologer or new to it. The teachings of this course, in particular the Essentials course, is great for immersing ourselves in the knowledge of these universal archetypes, facets of our being that we all share that are part of this soul journey. It's an incredibly rich, deep spiritual immersion. Community, there's a live forum, we have weekly classes, several break weeks for integration, video content, workbook, transcription, alumni support. It's a beautiful learning experience, beautiful healing supportive soul experience to give to ourselves as well. Learn more about all of it in the description below. So let's take a look at this particular configuration. Okay. So I've put Mars on the ascendant. Here we have 150 degrees from Mercury in Capricorn and 150 degrees from the South Node in Scorpio. So let's just review the general meaning of an inconjunct. An inconjunct will always, archetypally at least, involve 2 points that have nothing to do with one another in terms of elements and modes. For example, Mars in Gemini is air and it's mutable. Capricorn is cardinal and it's earth. Okay, cardinal earth, mutable air. There's no overlap there, right? You know, you can have mutable air and mutable earth. Virgo, for example, there's some sort of they're both mutable, right? So this inconjunct archetypally involves 2 signs that are just not related, right? And thus the correspondence in general to an inconjunct is, how do I integrate these 2 functions? They don't know each other. They don't understand, they don't speak the same language. And thus it brings up the sense of, I don't quite know how to integrate, how to do this work, how to organize it, how to bring it all together, how to integrate what I'm here to do with the current reality that exists. Okay. We have forming another inconjunct, the South Node of the Moon. This is fixed water with mutable air. It's like, what do they have to do with each other? You know, fixed water, it's like so emotional, so deep, so psychological. Mutable air is so curious and open and fluid, right? So it's another inconjunct. A yod is formed when we have 2 inconjuncts to 1 point. And thus we have a very strong signature where there's a lot of energy that's needing to be integrated and used and actualized. The apex planet is the lead point. So here we have Mars in Gemini really being the lead point for this whole yod configuration. Let's unpack this. Mars in Gemini moving direct now. I've made a lot of videos with Mars in Gemini. Now we're in that direct motion. This is a point of integration. It's core questions, reflections, new information, new perspective, often happening through stimulating experiences. The thoughts, the perspectives, the ideas, opening up the field to something we've never thought before. Okay, so Mars in Gemini is saying, here, do this, make these choices, try something new, be open to experiencing something new, think in a new way. Okay, that's the general meaning of it. Just by itself is a lot of new activity, trying a lot of new things, being open to new ideas, and just going for it, Mars, going for it. We've learned a lot. Try it, try it, try it. Time to move forward, time to move on. In conjunct to Mercury in Capricorn, also now moving direct, there's a weight. I have to do this. There's a pressure. There's an awareness of time. There's an awareness of responsibilities. We have to take responsibility for our life and actually create a structural reality that works. But I feel so random and unformed. So how do I do this? How do I put it all together? The analogy would be like a student. The transition from being interested in a topic and learning about it to now you're studying for a test. You have to show something for it. There are ramifications to your capacity to actually concretely do something with your knowledge. But I don't know if I can do it. Will I fail? Will I make it? How do I know I'll succeed? So there's that pressure to actually bring some kind of form and crystallization here that's workable, that's tangible. And that can feel very stressful, very confusing. Now, the south node of the moon in Scorpio, of course, is bringing up a lot of unconscious content. The meaning of the south node of the moon in Scorpio in general is a time period where collectively we are each facing that which we're not consciously aware of, right? So we're meeting content within our own soul that's triggering, that's uncomfortable, it's unconscious patterns, dynamics, fears, attachments, obsessions, core insecurity. Together, this is a really powerful statement. This is how I would express it. To me, this yod speaks to essential questions coming into focus, becoming more aware of what specifically is it we're looking at. So with all the stimulation and seeming choices and options that are awake in our life, there's a tendency for all of us to organize a logical reality around them that categorizes everything and says, this is what it's about. This is what I'm dealing with here. And we're always wrong, meaning the actual reality of things, the intricacies, the interconnectedness of it all, and how it actually deeper than we understand is so profound because our own psychological limitations, our own attachments and fears and addictions and compulsions will determine our own perceptions. And so to see anything as it actually is and to really understand not just the intricate web of perfection, right? But to actually grasp the deeper, to be able to grasp the questions and the thoughts that are truly relevant to what's actually happening. To give an example of this, it's like a little child walking into the kitchen and sees mom and dad putting away the cookies, right? From such a limited perspective, it seems like I'm losing something, and what can I do to not lose that thing? If there's more information, if there's greater spaciousness of awareness, it can be understood. These cookies are actually being put away because we're going to have dinner now, and then later we'll have cookies. But to even be able to apprehend more that greater context, there has to be some space from the fixations. If there isn't that space, there's going to be an immediate sense of loss and thus a thought that corresponds to that sense of loss and actions and communication that's going to come from that place. Why are you taking it away? Versus, why are you taking that away? What's its purpose? What's your intention? What's your purpose with those cookies? When will I get cookies? To be able to ask questions and to be truly open to learn means we're not grasping or possessing any particular thought form which itself just resonates with that which we're unconsciously not willing to face within ourselves. And of course, we can't just go into that pure curiosity. We have to meet fully where we're actually sort of tempted into a very stimulating, instigative, not so thoughtful, reactive mindset. We have to meet that and recognize, oh, I'm feeling loss right now. Okay, I'm feeling loss. Mars in conjunct with the South Node in Scorpio. Don't have to do anything with that. In fact, this loss is pointing to something that's wanting to clear up. What choices can I make when I'm not bound by that feeling of loss and fear? When I'm not bound by betrayal, abandonment, jealousy, possessiveness, fear of loss, concern with gain? What thoughts, what perspectives open up? Then Mercury in Capricorn, there's a very practical element that wants to come forth here. What can I do? What can I commit to? What kind of plans can I make? This is a very interesting signature that can feel like there's a lot that we can't quite manage or understand. And yet, just with a sort of curiosity and open-mindedness and a true willingness to do what it takes. A true willingness to have new thoughts and to think new things and do new things that we hadn't otherwise considered, to really allow for profound reorganization. In that willingness, I think we can really learn a lot and encounter new experiences and new growth edges that are really good for us. I want to share a quote from A Course in Miracles that I thought of in preparing this video. And this just feels so relevant to just the energy of the signature. And interestingly enough, this quote's been like coming up all over the place for me. It's one of those things where I opened up the book a few weeks ago. You know, sometimes I'll open it up just asking for guidance, and I got this section. And then twice, David Hoffmeister, one of my Course in Miracles teachers, quoted it twice in the past week or two, just in his teachings. So here we go. And this is like a huge book with like thousands of pages. The necessary condition for the holy instant does not require that you have no thoughts that are not pure. The holy instant, by the way, being the truth, being the moment. It's like this teaching, heaven is here, there's no other place. Heaven is now, there's no other time. It's sort of the goal of the awakening is this moment, which is reality. But it does require that you have none that you would keep. You don't need no impure thoughts, but you should not keep them. What does that mean? Innocence is not of your making. It is given you the instant you would have it. Atonement would not be if there were no need for it. You will not be able to accept perfect communication as long as you would hide it from yourself. Innocence is our innate condition. It's given the moment we would have it because it's what is. Everything that's given is actually what already is. We do the work not so much of trying to become something that we're not, but in not holding on to that which we aren't. But if we're trying to deceive ourselves and pretend or ignore or push away the thoughts that hurt, we're not going to receive what is given to us. We won't receive the gift, the healing, the miracles that are always available in the moment, where all the teachings, all the gifts, all the gems are always here for us. So it would require that we do not keep them for ourselves. We would not accept perfect communication as long as you would hide it from yourself. And let me explain in a moment what that means. For what you hide is hidden from you. In your practice, then, try only to be vigilant against deception and seek not to protect the thoughts you would keep to yourself. So what is perfect communication? I'm a disciple of learning what that means, and I'm so grateful this course teaches this idea of communication, because I think it's very easy in spiritual practice and spiritual modalities to not emphasize the necessity of pure, authentic communication. This is not just communication with God, with yourself, with the moment, like acknowledging, right? It's also with other people. It encompasses everything. So let's use an example. Let's take that child. Imagine they're afraid, right? And that their cookie is being taken from them. Perfect communication is acknowledging that fear. It isn't necessarily identifying with it. In the identification with it, there's complaining, there's a tantrum. Don't take that away from me. Don't take that away from me, right? Or anger or rebellion as a result of perceiving that something's being taken away. But it's the acknowledgement of the fear. I'm afraid. I'm perceiving that you're taking something away from me. And there is the practice in this, in just recognizing this perception brings up fear, brings up hurt, brings up loss. Thus, there must be some other perception. There must be something more accurate that I'm not grasping. But we can't be open to learning. We can't be open to correction, to actually seeing things as they are, if we're not willing to communicate and be open and be authentic about what we're actually thinking on the inside. So just in acknowledging to ourselves, I am thinking this, I am feeling this, I am meeting this, I am afraid of this, I am nervous about this. And then to bring that into our relationships. This is the most important thing. Scorpio work in general. In fact, Saturn and Venus are coming together into a very strong conjunction soon. Forming, I'm not a novile person, 40-degree aspect, meaning I haven't studied it very much, but it's a perfect novile with Jupiter, Juno. It's worth thinking about, maybe doing a little research and meditation on the novile aspect. There's a lot there around essential communication and clarification around our relationships relative to the ruler of communication itself, right? Mercury and Capricorn and Mars and Gemini. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of things to plan and clarify. And with this Yod, with the Scorpio South Node, I think it's so important that we're not holding on to any attachments to outcome, but are not holding back our thoughts, are not deceiving ourselves or one another in trying to pretend or protect ourselves from the uncomfortable thoughts and perceptions that are inside. Can we bring forth what is inside of us without using it as an attack, without unconsciously holding on to some kind of attachment to outcome? True curiosity and openness and willingness to learn means a true willingness to hold back nothing. We can't become truly open-minded if we're holding on to anything. What you hide is hidden from you. Because at the core, even if we are aware of the feelings, if we're not going to meet it and acknowledge what we're hiding, we're not going to acknowledge the attachments that are actually consuming us. It's like Jesus says, I think in the Gospel of Thomas, if you bring forth what is inside of you, what is inside of you will heal you, will save you. If you do not bring forth what is inside of you, it will destroy you. This is true. In your practice, then, try only to be vigilant against deception and seek not to protect the thoughts you would keep to yourself. Powerful, powerful practice. Let the Holy Spirit's purity shine them away and bring all your awareness to the readiness for purity the Holy Spirit offers you. We can't let anything shine away if we would keep it from being seen. Thus, the Holy Spirit will make you ready to acknowledge that you are host to God and hostage to no one and to nothing. And this is what we're here to learn. This is what we're here to realize and remember along this whole journey. That there is a path of healing and freedom, and that we are free. And that the circumstances of our life, however challenging and confusing they might seem to be, at the core, they're all a part of a greater unfolding. When we have that trust and we're willing to hold nothing back from true acknowledgement, there can also be a sort of serenity. I find that when there's trust, the natural result is a sort of kindness and acceptance and peace. We can be at peace with things that we don't understand. We can be loving and kind and accepting and generous and patient with ourselves and with those around us and with uncomfortable circumstances, with things like, I don't know how to deal with this, or this is hard and stressful. When there's trust, there's a greater inherent capacity to be kind and permissive and patient and even more loving. Because the trust itself says, or rather, without the trust, there's always the implication that we're holding on to an attachment to outcome. And so when things happen that we're not liking, it's like, oh, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not going where I'm wanting to go because of all these things that are getting in the way. I mean, it can be as simple as your children not listening to you, right? the moment we come back to a trust in everything, it's also simultaneous to not holding on to what's inside. And it's just a beautiful recognition that our capacity to love really comes simultaneous to our trust, which comes simultaneous to not keeping the uncomfortable thoughts hidden, not deceiving ourselves and hiding it from ourselves. So this transit, this yod to me, and it's going to tighten over the next, today we're on the 19th or so. The next 3 or 4 days, they're exacting, meaning they're getting as close as they're going to get to a perfect yod. Let me share the screen once more, actually, and just show you something really interesting. Mercury is stationing direct, but it's behind Mars. I mean, it's 14 minutes. Mars is 25 minutes. So tomorrow it moves closer. Looks like on Friday itself, if you just move it several hours, the yod will be exact, right? This means for the next day from the time this video is posted, boy, such essential questions and conversations and clarifications. It's really, really helpful. Hold nothing back. And then this Mercury, exacts a sextile with the South Node just a couple days later. And Mars and that South Node exact that yod, just a couple days later from that. So several tightenings of alignment in the next several days, and just really great to be really meeting whatever's here with a great amount of willingness and curiosity. All right, thank you for watching. I want to make a new announcement. So I'm creating a new program, a new way of being available to offer sessions, and I'm experimenting with this. So until the first week of February, for the next 2 Thursdays, I'm creating space for mini sessions. I'm doing this in mind to be more available, one, to those who really can't afford a longer session, and also those who just don't necessarily need it. I don't necessarily believe that you always need a full hour. Very often I find that just in the first 20 minutes, the core message has been communicated. It's really all about healing and allowing for whatever is wanting to come through. So if you feel like there's a calling for just clear, direct insight or perspective, this might be a helpful way of meeting. So you can check that out. I'll put the link to that in the description below. You can schedule on my website. Currently available throughout the day, pretty much on Thursday for the next couple weeks.